Hello and welcome to Quiz the Bear Part 3. And I have my trusty sidekick with me as usual. There you go, the lovely Rosie. Right, I dropped the laptop. Okay, as usual, without further ado, we're going to questions from Heather Hollis Escrontias. Sorry, Heather, if I pronounced that wrong. And we can see that you're from Pennsylvania. And a good friend of mine you are too, Heather. Um, Heather asks, what are some ways you grieve your losses? And fortunately, Heather has written, I write poems and stories to express my feelings. So, yes, what do I do? Um, I write articles and books, but I think it's uh, a lot of the articles really help me grieve for my loss of my old self, and particularly bear with me that my first book. I don't know whether you've read it. It's absolutely written from the soul. It's completely honest. It was written, I guess, at the dark and emotional time. When I look at it now, I had to look at it earlier today because somebody was asking me about something that was in the book. It, I feel it's. I've moved on as a writer, and I could have written it better, but also I couldn't because it had to be written at that time with that passion and at times desperation and really grief for myself. So there you go. Hope that helps. And Heather asks another one. How do you balance grief with appreciating the little gifts life continues to give you? So the answer is I don't balance them, but that's not the full answer. I think once I realised I was grieving, I learnt about grieving. There's different phases of grief, and they're not linear. They're different for everybody else, and you can go through at the same phase more than one time. But I started to take enjoyment out of the little things in life, looking out of the window and seeing flowers or birds feeding or flying about. The smell of my coffee, I loved that. Smell of shampoo, I actually started buying more fragrant shampoo so I could really enjoy it. But I feel I've moved on a little bit in my life, and I think I moved on from grief a little bit to accepting some of the limitations placed upon me without giving up hope that I would get better. But I think I've moved on again, and I feel happier again in myself, comfortable in my skin. I have actually very, very slowly, perhaps, I've either got a little bit better or I've got better at pacing. So I'm sort of running at 95% of my abilities most of the time, as opposed to fluctuating and having the lows, which are really quite terrible. Okay, uh, sorry it wasn't happier than that, but there you go. That's. Thank you, Heather. And a couple more questions. In fact, might be more than that. These are from Gemma Arnell, who lives in Auckland, New Zealand, another friend of mine. And Gemma asks, do you feel or have you felt guilty for being sick? Have I felt guilty for being sick? Um, Probably occasionally, briefly. Um, I might be in a fortunate position compared to some people watching this, but my partner is absolutely fantastic, really supportive, understanding, and it's not my fault that I'm ill. I didn't abuse my body through drink, drugs, alcohol, whatever, or some other way that some people might consider abuse my body. I got ill through combination of stress and viral infection, and I do the best I can with what I'm able to do. So, although I might have occasionally felt guilty, it's not a predominant thing for me. Do you also grieve for a lost career, hobbies, family, or whatever you've lost or can no longer do since you acquired ME, and how do you handle that? I think there has been a time when I've grieved for my career, but not so much because of my illness, but because it was taken away from me. And you'll know the story to that if you've read either or Bear in Mind or the Embleton Murders. There's a bit about my life in there that's true. And I'm not so sure grieve was the right word for my career. I was angry that it was taken away from me. Um, grief, loss, career, hobbies, um, I've had a really wonderful interest in life, and it hasn't ended. It will go on. So I'm not talking in the past tense, but I have been an entrepreneur. I've been an engineer, biomedical engineer. I've raced motorbikes, cars, and things. Um, some of my closest friends describe me as reinventing myself and going on. And I know, early in my career, I did a degree, and I got a job, and I worked in industry, and I decided to pack it all in for personal reasons, and I returned to university and did a PhD. And I think some people close to me were a bit concerned that I did that, and I became a biomedical engineer, and I had some good jobs, and then I decided to uh, end all that and work for myself. And I think yet again, some people who were proud of me, close to me, were really concerned that I was trashing another career. Um, and it just carried on like that. I had a successful gardening business, and it was going really well. And I flew in a helicopter and decided I was going to be a helicopter pilot. So sold a really successful business to become a helicopter pilot. And then, after 10 years of that, I just decided I'd had enough. And so I think I'm an unusual person in this respect, but I've forgotten what the question was. Brain fog. Oh yeah, so I don't really grieve because I always think I'll be able to do something, and I do have many physical limitations because of ME, and my intelligence remains, but my access to it is somewhat limited by brain fog. But I try to apply myself as well as I possibly can when I'm up to it, and hence all my writing. So yeah, but there's another bit to this, isn't there? Yes. Hobbies, family, or whatever you've lost. Right, hobbies. I am slightly no, not upset, but I miss a little bit some of my motorcycling. I used to go up onto the hills on my own, not with other people, which isn't to be recommended. If you're going to go into the, you know, outback, have someone with you and back up. But that was perhaps part of the thing that I liked, the almost anxiety that if you break down, you're in trouble. But I don't have the strength to do that, and I'm not sure I'd be able to get myself out of trouble if I did. So I do miss that bit. Um, Family and friends, still have touch with my family. Uh, Friends, it, I'm not sure whether it's their fault or my fault that I don't see them very much. Uh, you know, Probably 1% of what I used to see people in the past, and some of it's my lack of energy and availability, and some of it's my anxiety from going outside or going into public. But I have a small group of friends, like close friends, who I do see occasionally. Often they come to me, or I might go to their house. And in all of the hundreds or thousands of friends I've had, these aren't necessarily the ones that you think would have been there for you. And I really appreciate those ones that are there. Thank you. Do you still have hopes, wishes, and dreams now that you have limitations? Absolutely. I've done so many things in my life, and I've chucked careers away to go and do something new because I do what I want to do, what I love, what excites me, makes me want to jump out of bed on a morning. Now I can't jump out of bed on a morning anymore, but I have a mission to raise awareness of chronic illnesses and hidden disability, and in being writing and doing that, I've got aspirations to be an author. Arguably realised because I've published 4 books now, though only 2 of them have sold in the hundreds. So, and even that isn't a great deal in the scheme of things. But I'm going to keep going for as long as I enjoy it, and as long as I think I'm making a difference. Um, I keep aspiring. Oh, there's my alarm clock for my next medication. Um, I, I've managed to do little job. I have a project each year that I pick. So I want to make something outside or change a bit of the garden, and I do that. I get great satisfaction from that. So I'm maximising what I can do with my limitations. Every year I want to ride more and go away on a motorbike trip. And other than an arranged trip every year I do with my friends, I don't seem to be managing that. But it's March as I make this, and I aspire to ride more this year yet again. Okay. Gosh, I'm covered in dog hair. Um, well, that's it. Thank you for watching. I've hoped I've answered some of those questions, and whew, some people might have enjoyed watching, some might have been entertained, some people might have learned, or some people might reflect on their own position. And if any of the above apply in one person, then this 12 minutes of talking at the camera and then the next half hour, an hour of turning into video online will be worth it. Thank you very much. The assistant is asleep at my side, so I'll try not to disturb her. Bye for now.